Hello, I'm Angel, and this is History is Fun. The Miamisburg Mound is located on a 100-foot-high bluff near the Great Miami River in Miamisburg, Ohio, about 8 miles south of downtown Dayton. Many earthworks and mounds in Ohio, like the Miamisburg Mound, are near moving water. Stick around until the end for a little-known fact about the Miamisburg Mound. This mound is the largest conical mound in Ohio at a height of over 65 feet. It is also the second largest conical mound in eastern North America. It's thought to be part of the Adena culture in the early woodland period. The Adena culture flourished in what is now southern Ohio from approximately 800 BCE to 100 BCE. While this particular mound was made by the Adena culture, it is not to suggest that it was their first mound. The Adena culture was widespread from Indiana to New York and from central Ohio south to Kentucky. Still, southern Ohio seems to be the center of their culture because of the size and number of mounds found here. In the mid-19th century, archaeologists began studying the mounds and decided they were looking at 3 different stages of Ohio culture. The first stage was associated with the people building large conical mounds. The Adena culture was made up of both hunters and gatherers, but they were also Ohio's first farmers. Agricultural evidence suggests that they were growing sunflowers, squash, as well as a few other plants. They also created clay pots used for cooking and storage, but their main distinction is how they buried elite members of their clan. The Adena culture appears to be the first ancient people in Ohio to create burial mounds for their honored dead. The Miamisburg Mound is a burial mound and 877 feet in circumference at the base and covers approximately 1.5 acres. It's thought that mounds like this were built in successive layers over multiple generations. When a leader died, the mourners created a wood hut that contained the body. That hut would be set ablaze and then covered with a layer of soil. With each death, the mound grew taller and broader. However, small mounds have contained many people buried along with a significant number of artifacts, leading researchers to believe they were people of great importance in their communities. Miamisburg Mound is a bit of a conundrum. With its vast size, it indeed should have been the final resting place of many honored dead. During its only excavation in July of 1869, archaeologists managed to do only 2 things. 1, disinter a single set of remains, and 2, leave the mound 3 feet shorter than it was when they started. One theory for this seeming lack of remains is that the mound was one of many mounds used perhaps as lookouts or signal communication points. Even in the 20th century, researchers speculated the single barrier was more out of necessity than one of intentional and enormous honor. Most of what we know about the culture comes from examining artifacts buried with the dead. From unearthed artifacts, it appears the Adena people either traveled extensively or had a far-reaching trade network. Although their mounds were constructed in a relatively small geographic region in North America, items found in some of these mounds come from thousands of miles away. Artifacts recovered from the mounds have provided little evidence of what daily life was like for people of the Adena culture, but there has been much speculation. The problem is that only a fraction of the mounds built have been preserved, and only a few of those that have been preserved have actually been studied. Today, there are about 1,000 mounds. Some archaeologists believe there could have been as many as 10,000 built in the central Ohio Valley by the Adena culture. Those that have made it to the present survived through private land ownership, local, state, and federal agencies dedicated to preserving these ancient ruins. Many of the mounds that have been saved are of the conical variety. The people who created these mounds disappeared from Ohio. What happened to them remains a mystery that will probably never be resolved. In the 1930s, the Civilian Conservation Corps installed stone steps to the top observation platform, providing visitors with a beautiful panoramic view of the Great Miami River Valley. On this day, I easily had 10 miles of visibility. If you've made it to this point, then you must be wondering what the little-known fact is. Here it is. Two pioneering archaeologists from Chillicothe, newspaper editor Ephraim Squire and physician Edwin Davis, surveyed the Miamisburg Mound for their landmark scientific research study, Ancient Monuments of the Mississippi Valley. Released in 1848, Ancient Monuments was the Smithsonian Institution's debut publication. Its first figure depicts the Great Mound of Miamisburg, Ohio. If you like this video, hit that like button, and here are 2 other videos I think you will enjoy.